You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, all you weirdos. Jim here to review Amazing Spider-Man number 28, written by Zeb Wells, and art by Ed McGuinness. Now, I'm going to turn the chair around, turn my hat around. I'm going to talk to the kids here, and please bear with me. Don't get angry. Don't leave before I'm done, because I think that maybe we can talk this through, and by the end, I think everybody will be the better for it, because is it possible that all this hate for Zeb Wells and his run is a bit undeserved? I know that people have spent, a lot of time yelling and screaming about it, but I actually spent some of the last couple weeks thinking about this run, and while it's gotten a lot of flack, maybe there's more to this book than most of us care to admit. Now, seeing someone lose their mind trying to save the one they love, I know it's tough to watch, but I think that we all might do the same in that situation, right? And then imagine that it's you holding a hero as they are dying, and you can't do anything yourself to save them. It's one of those humanizing moments that we rarely see in comic books, right? So let's just all think about this for a second. Seriously, though, I want to stop a second. If you think that I'm talking about Mary Jane, Paul, Rabin, and the death of Kamala Khan, no, I'm not talking about that. That was complete bullshit. What I'm talking about is the new emotional story that we're getting now, the love story of the ages, J. Jonah Jameson and Doc Ock's damaged old tentacles. This is the story we've all been waiting for, right? And it seems like, oh my God, this might be what Zeb Wells wanted to write all along. Holy crap, we've cracked the code. And seriously, I've had a sneaking suspicion that Zeb Wells and Marvel and Nick Lowe and just about anybody involved with this book have been messing with Spider-Man fans for a while now. This issue completely confirms it. This issue, it's trying to have fun. And while some may argue that the book needed a shift in tone after Kamala's death, that only works if the Kamala stuff had any sort of emotional effect on anyone, or if it impacted this book in any sort of way. After reading this issue, it's very clear that Zeb Wells didn't care one bit about Kamala, and the fact that she never should have been in this book, let alone died, and it was so obvious last issue, where Wells struggled to show any connection between Peter and Kamala. But in this issue, he goes further by almost mocking her death with this tentacle bullshit. Seriously, seeing characters freak out more about tentacles than they ever did about Kamala Khan is a joke. But the kind of joke that you laugh at, not with. Seriously, what is Zeb Wells doing here? It's like if we ended up back in the day, Bucky died, and yet a day later, Cap was more upset because his toaster didn't work. Or maybe we would want that one more day story where instead of saving Aunt May, Peter makes a deal with Mephisto because his VCR can't be fixed. This is ridiculous. The cherry on top of the shit sundae is all of this humor just brings back flashbacks of Wells' awful dark web story, as if he thinks we will all forgive his bait and switch bullcrap by being reminded what a waste of time we had with the other bullshit right before it. Now, what else do we get? Kraven shows up, and hey, Kraven has a trailer out, movie coming. Oh my God, there's Kraven. It ties into the free comic book day stuff, but he just pops in and then pops out as a prop to show that Doc Ock is upping his game. We also get a nice moment where Peter and Norman tried to bond together to stop Doc Ock, and then you get some cute little tech as well, just for good measure. And it's a shame, though, because actually, when you strip away, all the bullshit, and I'm telling you, you got to strip. This is like stripping a car, and you are left with one rim and maybe the exhaust pipe, because there's not much here. But the Auto stuff is actually pretty badass. What Otto is doing, Doc Ock, he ends up having a plan. He's diabolical. It's stepping him up, making him even more of a threat. So why can't Zeb Wells do it in any sort of serious manner? I know some will say, but Jim, it's a Spider-Man book, and I get that. But there is a point where things start to play more like parody And the lead up to this with the awfully written J. Jonah Jameson and tentacle story may even go beyond that. It's that ridiculously bad. And with that, one of the worst written J. Jonah Jamesons I've read, so out of character, but almost mimicking how Peter lost his mind when he had to go and get people to try to help him, the Fantastic Four. Then eventually he ends up going to Norman to try to save Mary Jane. And then you end up having, oh my God, the tentacles, they're dying in my arms, as if it's mocking Kamala Khan. And whether or not you were into the Kamala Khan or you got angry that she died, you don't need the writer to mock that in the book 2 issues later. It throws everything out of whack, but when was it in whack? It never was in whack. So why is Zeb Wells still in this book? That's the big question. Probably because he does what he's told, but also because for some reason this book continues to sell. And you see, Spider-Man fans are pretty loyal. They'll stick with their character through the thick and thin. But it's Zeb Wells, Nick Lowe, and Marvel who should be ashamed of themselves because they're taking that willingness to stick through the good and the bad as an open invitation to keep giving them shit stories. It has to end. They need to make a clean sweep purge of this whole nonsense that's going on. Nick Lowe, Zeb Wells, and whoever else is involved, get them out, because this is at a point where they seem to just be laughing at the people that are paying their checks. They are paying their salary by buying this book, even when it sucks. And eventually that will stop. But they're taking advantage of the idea that it takes a while for loyal fans to stop getting their favorite character. And that makes it even worse. Now, I thought the art was really good. Kudos to Ed McGuinness. He actually made this shit shine. It looked pretty good. And the Doc Ock stuff is interesting, but then it only ends up making me more mad because we're more concerned with being ridiculous, and the lame humor, poor pacing, and overall lack of good storytelling is why I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. And some people may sit there and say to me, but Jim, 5 out of 10, that's not that bad. To me, I think a 5 out of 10 is one of those things where, and we call it an FU5 at our DC side of things. And we do that because that's a book where I end up, and I seem angry, which I am, but overall the story, I don't care anymore. It's like an I don't care 5. It's right down the middle. Screw it. I don't even care about it. Get it out of my face. Out the window it goes. Whatever. And so that is, to me, and I'll say this is an FU5. So there we go. We're going to introduce it now to the Marvel side of things. You'll know what I'm talking about if you listen to our podcast or other things like that. But an FU5 for this, and just stop. Stop the nonsense. And I'll never sit here and say, hey, Spider-Man fans, stop buying your favorite book. That's not up to me. That's up to each person who is getting that. And a lot of people will never do that because they know that good times eventually will come their way. But with this regime, I don't know. It's been quite some time since we've gotten really good stuff. And that is a shame. And it's something that is unforgivable to do to some of the most loyal fans in comicdom. So there you go. Anger away, sweep it out the window it goes, 5 out of 10, get out of town. So with all that, thanks everybody. Tell me what you thought of this issue, and not just this individual issue, but how it kind of falls into place after the stuff with that, mystery box story to lead into Kamala's death, with Mary Jane just off with Paul somewhere, all that nonsense. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like, and enable all that. Thanks everybody. I'll talk to you later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.